Isn't that the Colin move there at the end?
That was lovely. You were rocking hard there, Jake.
Yeah.
I was going to have that awkward moment of who's going to dance if Colin's not here. And so I just decided to own it.
You know what? And you did that very well. You owned it beautifully. And I must say, I love your shirt. Your Cones of Dunshire shirt.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a fan.
Nice.
I was at an amusement park this evening, like you do in the evenings sometimes. And we were getting some food, and the lady that was taking our order was like, "What is that shirt from?" And I said, "It's from a show called Parks and Recreation." She said, "Yeah, that's what I thought." I'm like, "Well, then if you thought that, why didn't you just, where else was it going to be from?"
Yeah.
I don't actually play Cones of Dunshire, which is a fictional game from a fictional show. But,
well, it's from so many different sources. It could have been really anything. So I understand why she would have asked.
Oh my goodness. I mean, my t-shirt's from a TV show too. I don't think you guys have seen it though.
I don't know what that show is. Rose Apothecary.
Yeah.
No, that's not the name of the show.
No, I know, but I don't know what Rose. I don't know.
Is it from. Weeds?
No. It's from Schitt's Creek.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Colin. If Colin was here, he would know what it was from.
And already, I'm having to put the bleeps in.
It's not a swear word.
It's SCHITTS.
I know.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you guys something funny about that off the air, but I can't share it on the air. So
unnecessary censorship is entertaining, though.
So,
as Colin would call it, though, Poopy Creek.
Yeah.
Which is just silly.
Yeah. Colin's not here. Spoilers. Which is exactly. He died.
In Arizona.
He was baked.
Yeah, we sacked him actually because last week he was confused by a scale of 1 to 10 and wasn't really sure how to rate something on that scale. So
we banished him to Arizona.
Yeah, so we said, "Get out of here. Go to Arizona
where he cooked."
Off. And so,
I think it's funny that numbers confused him.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. It's like, what kind of scale? Like 1 to 10? I don't understand. Like, so 10's the best. Yes, it's a regular scale, 1 to 10. Okay.
Normally, that's me that has the issues with the scales.
Yeah. But this time it was Colin. So we decided that was just once too many. So off to Arizona with you. So just let that be a lesson, dear listeners, that we have almost a zero tolerance policy when it comes to our numbering scales. So there you go.
And I just want to say Arizona is a testament to man's arrogance. Nobody should live there.
It's true.
And that's coming from the dude who lives in Texas.
There's a lot of places where people have built cities that you're just like, why?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I like the desert. I like the heat. I'm a summer person all the way.
The heat is okay, but when it's 120 degrees in like March, and you go out to your car and you grab your steering wheel and the flesh comes off of your hands like almost immediately, it's too hot. You got no business living in that kind of environment.
Yeah,
which is what Phoenix is.
I spent a couple of summers in Phoenix because my dad lived there for a while, and that you learn the art of going from your air-conditioned apartment to your air-conditioned car to the air-conditioned wherever it is that you're going. And you just don't spend a lot of time outside. Like construction workers would work in the evenings when it was cooler instead of working through the day because it was too hot. Anyway, but it is amazing that the city has grown. Like Phoenix, for example, thinking of Arizona's not a city, it's a state, but Phoenix being the major city in Arizona. And their team's on their way to the finals, Zoner. So
I know. Yeah. But
spoilers if you haven't been watching and following the NBA finals or playoffs.
Chris Paul is cursed though, so he'll find a way to mess it up, I'm sure.
I mean, the Jazz are out, so I don't really care anymore.
Yeah. And I'm kind of with you, Marley. At this point, it's like, okay, I don't really care who wins it. I'm not a fan of any of the teams that are left. I know it's Phoenix. Has the East been settled yet?
No, they're still battling it out.
Yeah.
So I think the Hawks won, or no. No, the Bucks won without their star,
Yeah.
who went down with a knee injury. So
This is the kind of thrilling sports talk that our fans come to hear on the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we should definitely keep this up. No, but we are talking about an important subject. I've mentioned a couple of times. We are talking about spoilers tonight, and what is the proper etiquette and rules for spoilers. This was Marley brought this topic to our attention because of something tragic that has happened to her this week. Do you want to share your experience? Are you going to be okay
Yeah.
sharing it, or do we need to give you a minute?
Yeah, no, I feel like I can.
do we need to give trigger warnings to anybody out there? Or?
No. I feel like this is a safe enough space that I can share my real and honest feelings regarding this subject.
Yeah, for sure.
So, as we all know, currently there is a show on Disney Plus being released weekly on a Wednesday, and which is just not an ideal time, I feel like, at all, especially when the previous similar shows were being released on a Friday. I'm talking about Loki, in case people have no idea. Are we going to
name the show, or is that too much of a spoiler even?
No. If no one is picking up what I'm throwing down, it is Loki.
Yeah, I've heard that Disney may, and I don't know, it was a passing headline on an internet article, so it could be totally false, that Disney was thinking of moving all of their shows to a Wednesday release date. But I kind of like Loki doing it because that's kind of like he's the god of mischief, and so moving his show from Friday to Wednesday is just kind of ironic or funny, but not in your case because it's a tragedy and awful.
Well, no, I see your point. Like, I think that's like fun. I don't think that's why they did it, but no, I don't think it's still a fun thing to think of. But no, my grief is that it comes out on a Wednesday, and then it's in the middle of the week. People have school, people have work, or both. And it's not very ideal to stay up super late, the night before to watch it, or wake up early before work or something to watch it. And so typically people are like, okay, well, I'll wait till I get home from work or said school or whatever and watch it later. Or, hey, I just don't have time, or I'm waiting to watch it with people, and we usually don't get together until the weekends, so we're going to watch it on the weekend. But then you get the people on Wednesday, like middle of the day,
10 a.m.,
or even like around lunchtime, we'll say too, like they're already starting to post stuff about it, and they're like, spoiler alerts, and then they like share their thing, and it's like, okay, really? You guys didn't give anybody any time to like watch the show. Like, yes, okay, it came out like 6 hours ago or 8 hours ago or whatever it was, but at the same time, again, like it's the middle of the week. People have lives, we have jobs, we have adult responsibilities that we need to handle and take care of. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't run on 3 hours of sleep. I think Colin can.
I typically do.
I was going to say Zonner does too.
Okay, Zonner does. I can't. Like, that's just
Marley.
That just doesn't work. Like, even if I get less than 7, like, I just feel like crap the next day. But anyways, I just, that got me thinking this week about kind of how Jake started off our episode here about like, yeah, what is the proper etiquette? When's the appropriate time to start talking about the episode or the movie or whatever, Mm-hmm. Do we have like a no spoilers ban? Like, what was it for Endgame? Didn't they do like, was it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something where they're like, don't spoil the Endgame,
Yeah.
Just to give people time to go see it. Cause again, like, especially like a huge show like Endgame, tickets are gonna sell out like crazy on the opening weekend. So not everyone's gonna be able to go, so having that kind of like ban on all spoilers and talk about the show, I think that was great. I mean, sure, it didn't stop everyone from doing that because there's still stupid, dumb people out there, but it was kind of a fun way to kind of band together as fans and be like, okay, hey, we get this. Not everyone is going to be able to go see it opening weekend. So let's all give each other a little bit of time, and then we'll talk about it on the internet.
Well, and I jokingly said to you that, when you said it, hey, to be fair, it has been out for like 10 hours because it releases at like 3 a.m. Eastern time, which, for a lot of people, that's just stupid late to stay awake, or stupid early to get up.
Yeah.
Or, some people just don't sleep, so it doesn't matter. But the thing that really gets me, and yeah, people will say spoiler warning or whatever, but they'll give like a 3 or 4 paragraph introduction, and then they'll say, warning, spoilers follow. Mm-hmm. But by that point, you're already like seeing stuff in your RSS feed, and the title of the article will usually say something like, Loki's making the same mistakes that Falcon and the Winter Soldier did with their villain reveal, or some crap like that. And I'm like, you can't do that. People, you're spoiling it just with the title. Come on.
Yeah, and I think I think there's a lot to unpack and talk about with spoilers, because I think you can talk about how long should it be before you spoil something, but then there's even the discussion about what is considered a spoiler and what isn't. I know with the what was it, the 3rd episode of Loki, I kept seeing, you guys have seen the 3rd episode, right? I don't want to spoil.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not the latest one that just came out. As we're recording this is a day after the 4th one came out. But when the 3rd episode came out, I saw a ton of articles that were like Loki's big reveal and why it matters and all this other stuff. And I was like, see, on some level, even that can be considered a spoiler because you're saying that there is some kind of big reveal, and number one, it was like one little line that they were referring to in the episode, but like that can be considered, that can be considered, that can be considered a spoiler, but some people might not, and I think that you just have to be careful. If you don't know, critics are typically pretty good, film critics in particular, or TV critics, if they've seen something that they know the public hasn't seen, and they know that their audience relies on them to be able to come and read and see if they should go see a movie, they're usually pretty good about talking about the mechanics of the movie and why the movie was either good or bad based on, the screenwriting was really good, the story doesn't really find its footing the way that it should, or something along those lines, without spoiling what's in the story. But I also see a lot of people who would like to be critics that will say things like, I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling it. Okay, if that's the case, then don't talk about it for a while. If you don't know how to talk about it without spoiling it, then don't talk about it, because there are ways that you can review a film or a movie, or a book or a show and talk about whether it's good or bad without spoiling the story. And critics know how to do that, but there are a lot of people that consider themselves in that same category that don't know how to talk about that. So if you find yourself saying something like, I don't know how to talk about this movie without spoiling it, you should probably just not be talking about it, or wait.
You shouldn't be a critic.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't.
Or even... No, you go ahead, Sam.
And critics, there's reasons that they don't spoil stuff. There's reasons that they don't immediately come out of advanced screenings and tell the entire world all of the details of what they saw. And it's because they want to stay in the good graces of the studios. They want to be able to continue to review these films and these TV shows.
Yeah.
And that's a very big deal. We've had those opportunities before, and I know I don't want to burn those bridges. I don't want to piss off Disney. That would suck.
Well, and Disney and a lot of the studios will put an embargo out for movies. You don't see it as much with TV episodes, because once a TV episode goes out, they kind of figure, well, now everybody can see it. But with movies, critics typically get to see those beforehand. For example, a big one right now, by the time this episode drops, it'll be the night that Black Widow is coming out. You can go to a late night screening the day that this comes out. But critics have already seen it, and it's been like a week and a half.
Yeah.
And they went and saw it at the beginning of this week, and but there was an embargo. Disney said, yeah, you've seen it, but you can't post any reviews of any kind until this date. But even after that date hit, it's still a week and a half before the movie comes out, because it was only like the next day. And most critics have been very good about, yeah, I really like the film because X, Y, or Z, talking about the mechanics and the reason why the film works, and not talking about the story. But there's always a few that you just don't know. And so I don't know, just be careful out there.
Well, and then you've always got the one idiot who will just throw spoilers out there in the middle of a crowded room without even thinking before, the movie even comes out, because they've heard rumors or whatever. And there may be people who are desperately trying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
And, I'll never forget, I had somebody come up to me and tell me, and this was in regards to the Force Awakens, comes up and says, well, Han Solo dies. And this was like a week before the movie came out. I'm like, Why would you say that? Why? He's like, oh, well, Harrison Ford said this and this and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Why?
You're like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, I might not have seen that news thing or that interview or something. Like,
and I hadn't. And so I had no idea. I was pissed, needless to say.
And I think that there's, different levels, like the accidental spoiling, or I think there are people who legitimately troll, or they think that something isn't a spoiler, like they're going to post a picture of something. There's one site that I have on Facebook that I follow on Facebook, and I can't remember what it is, but they'll constantly post out of context spoilers from whatever show is going on, and they'll post like 4 pictures. And the idea is, if you've seen the movie, or the show, then you know what was spoiled and you know what they're talking about. But if you haven't, then you have no idea what's going on. But this last one that they posted, it was like, I kind of felt like, looking at it, that it spoiled more of the Loki episode than they probably would have intended. And maybe it's because I've seen it and so it made sense, but I really think that anybody who saw those pictures probably would have gotten a pretty good hint at what happens in the newest episode. And I think that's stupid. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff.
I've just gotten to the point where I have to avoid certain corners of the internet on certain days. Like on Wednesday, I can't, until I sit down and watch Loki, I really can't go to certain websites.
But that's not, I feel like that's not, I mean, especially when someone like me who runs social media for, I mean, I have my own personal account, but I also have like my other podcasts that I'm on, Cutscenes and Cupcakes. And even, this one, I help with Stolendroids and stuff. It's like, I'm on social media like all the time. And it's like, it's not that easy to avoid stuff. I mean, sure, I don't have to sit and scroll, but it's just like, that's just what you do when you're on Instagram and Facebook. You sit and scroll. And I guess the argument too could be made, well, you don't have to follow those accounts. Okay, but once I have seen the episodes, I want to go look at the memes. Right. I want to participate and be in the know of them and have fun with them and everything. Yep. But it's just like, I think that they just need to wait. It's just too soon after it's been released. I don't know. I was trying to think about what would be a good time. I don't know if I totally stand by this, but I was kind of thinking about it earlier. So, for example, we're talking a lot about Loki. I almost wonder if people should wait to post memes until a whole week has gone by. So that way, you have the next episode coming out already, but people are talking about the previous episode, and you can go and because by then people will have seen it because they're getting ready to watch the next one. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. Well, you think about the idiots that have to comment first. I mean, it's the same thing. They got to be first with the memes. That's asking a lot of the internet.
Well, yeah, but just waiting at least a week or just a day or two before the next episode comes out, just to give people more time. I think I've even heard, and people will do this too with, I know Endgame was a huge, don't spoil the Endgame, but other Marvel movies, people have been okay, well, at least give it a week or through that weekend. Don't do it on Thursday night when it comes out or Friday night. Give it through the weekend, and then Monday or Tuesday, let's start talking about it and posting memes and things about it. Don't do it the day of. Give it a few days, please.
Yeah. I think with movies, what's pretty typical on a lot of the Facebook pages and groups that I've seen is to wait 2 weeks. Seems to be the pretty standard, 2 weeks before you post any spoilers for movies. And I think for TV shows, a week would be ideal, Marley, because that gives you especially with streaming, it gives you a whole week to watch it. But I also kind of agree with Zoner that asking the internet to wait a week before they start posting stuff that's going to drive traffic. I mean, a lot of influencers, that's their bread and butter, right? How many likes and tweets and whatever they can get. And so if they've got an idea, they want to post it out there and get those reactions when it's hot.
It's true.
But I think 48 hours wouldn't be unreasonable to say, before you post any spoilers, 48 hours. I'm in a group that's for an author that I really like. And their rule is when a new book comes out by that author, it's 6 months before any spoilers are posted.
Would that be Brandon Sanderson?
Yeah, but it takes 6 months to read a Brandon
That's
Sanderson
what I was
book.
going to say. His books are 8,000 pages long. So, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's a reasonable thing. There has to be that understanding in the community based on the medium that you're taking in, that it's going to take time for people to see it and consume it. So,
so again, if an episode comes out on a weekday, don't post something in the middle of the workday. Wait at least until after or the next day or something, because again, there's very, very few people who are going to stay up late or wake up early before, the workday to watch that thing.
Yeah. One of the biggest ones that I ever saw on the internet that was just really turned me off to this person's social media. And I won't say who the person is because we're not going to dox people on, it's not doxing necessarily, but I'm not going to say who it is.
Not going to call people out.
Yeah, we're not going to call people out on the show. But when The Mandalorian, the very first episode of The Mandalorian came out, there was a huge reveal at the end of the episode. I mean, now everybody knows about the child, but none of us knew that there was this baby Yoda thing walking around the Star Wars universe, and that it was just what we needed in our hearts to bring joy to our lives, right? We didn't know that. I remember getting up super early to watch the first episode of The Mandalorian because I was excited about it and seeing it and just being blown away. And then I remember going on Facebook and someone had posted a picture of Baby Yoda and was like, this was so mind-blowing. And people were like, that's a huge spoiler. They were like, well, no, if they haven't seen it, people aren't going to know what this is. Yeah, but the thing is just putting that out there is a huge spoiler. And so
you talk about spoilers out of context. That's one of those things that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen similar things with other shows that people have posted, and even recently, where I'm like, even out of context, even not knowing the context, that picture is a spoiler and it shouldn't have been posted. So just don't be, just think it through. You had that moment when you watched that show, let other people experience that moment and don't be a jerk and ruin it for them,
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds me of the episode of The Simpsons where Homer's walking out of Empire Strikes Back and he says, I had no idea Darth Vader was Luke's father. And everybody in line's like, what? No, Yeah. you had that like whoa moment when you saw that. Let other people experience that too, and it should be the same thing with Grogu. It should be the same thing with anything that you're watching, where it's like, whoa, that was a shocking moment. Let people experience that moment.
Definitely.
I mean,
I do have. Oh, what?
I was going to say just real, and I'm sorry,
No,
but I was going to say, how much would it have sucked if people had said right after, like if critics had said right after they had seen the early screenings of Endgame, wow, when Cap picks up Mjolnir for the first time, that was amazing. Dude, that moment was so incredible. And to have the crowds cheering if that had been spoiled and ruined, that would have really sucked. Like, you want to experience that moment and you want to know.
You literally jumped out of your seat. You were so excited.
I did literally jump out of my seat, and it still gives me goosebumps every time I see it. But
yeah,
if I had known beforehand that it was going to happen, it would have been like, oh, here it comes. Okay, there it is. And it wouldn't have been as exciting.
Exactly.
So
they would have robbed you of that joy.
Exactly.
Like, that's such a good example.
Don't be a Marley, are you okay? For those of you that can't see the video, Marley, I think, is dead. Just kidding. She's fine. Something fell off her desk.
I think her cat's dead.
My cat knocked over like all of my pen cups. So I'll clean that up later.
I think that's interesting that you say all of your pen cups. I have like a pen on my desk.
Yeah, but I got like my highlighters and my colorful pens and my scissors and other pens.
Difference between a woman and a man.
Oh my gosh, it is not a difference between a woman and a man.
So, anyways,
like this type of personality and this type of person, there's nothing gender specific about how many pens you have and don't have.
I know. I'm just being me. I actually keep one pen on my desk and then scissors and all that other crap in the drawer.
Yep.
He was chewing on stuff. I had to stop him. But anyways, back to spoilers. Something else I was going to bring up too is that I recognize that there are people out there. I don't quite understand it, but I know that there are people out there who will wait until the whole series is out and then watch it. So like, again, with these Disney Plus ones, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Loki, they will wait.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people before be like, oh, I don't want spoilers. It's like, okay, then don't wait to watch the whole thing. Watch it week to week as it's released. You can't get mad at me for talking about the show if you choose to wait until the very end, until all the episodes are available. So just throwing that out there. If you were wanting to wait, then you cannot be upset about spoilers.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. I mean, it really is. I think there's etiquette on both sides, right? I think waiting to post spoilers and to talk about a show is appropriate, but also if it's something that you really care about, don't wait and then blame somebody. I mean, if you're waiting 6 weeks to find out what happens in Loki because you want to sit down and watch all 6 episodes at once, then you're going to get stuff spoiled if you go online. I mean, that's on you. It really is. And like, I agree with you, Marley. You got to be responsible at that point for your own choices.
You know, I just don't want anybody to spoil how The Walking Dead ends. Oh and I'm wanting to watch it all. So, you know, I've got 10 years that I've been avoiding spoilers. So I'm going to be pissed if anybody spoils it. I mean, that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't just have to be Marvel. Like, I know we're giving a lot of Marvel examples. Well, and Star Wars, but like there's so many other things out there. I mean, you mentioned books, Jake, like even like in that kind of world, you know, like there's so many different things like that. Like we all just need, I don't know. I think we all just need to be a little more like think about others, you know, be a little more respectful of what you might be saying that could maybe be a spoiler.
I remember when I was reading through The Wheel of Time, and I went into a group, and I had mentioned, you know, it was a Facebook group, and I had mentioned that I was reading Wheel of Time, and they're like, then you need to leave this group right now if you've never read it, because stuff will get spoiled. And so I did, and I really appreciated them saying that, because I didn't want things to get spoiled. But that was on me. I could have stayed in the group and things would have been spoiled, and I made that choice, right? Those books have been out for a long time. So I think it's just all about, just being careful and making the choices of what you're going to do, and just know you can do everything you can to avoid spoilers, but if you prolong it and you push it off, that it's probably going to get spoiled. And if you do know something, don't spoil it for others.
Yeah. If you come up to somebody and get pissed off because they talk about Gandalf coming back after being killed by the Balrog, I mean, that's on you, man. I mean, those books are like 60 years old, 70 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on you.
I've never seen that. Now you spoiled it for me. Well, listen, the movies have been out for 20 years.
Yeah.
I really feel like if you were that interested, you would have seen it by now.
Yeah. The Titanic sinks. I mean, come on. Everybody knows.
Well, that's a historical fact. Like, if you don't know when you go see Titanic that the boat's going to sink, I mean, I just feel like your teachers failed you somewhere.
You'd be surprised at how many people did not know that when that movie came out.
The boat's going to sink? Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens with the Titanic. It's like one of the most famous shipwrecks in history. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. When we talk about movies that make us, a lot of times we're talking about older movies, and so we talk pretty spoilery because we're like, the movie's been out for 20 years. You guys should have seen it by now. But we also try to be careful when we've done Avengers and things like that to not be super spoilery, because we get it. Or to tell people up front, if you haven't seen this movie yet, don't listen to this episode. Turn it off right now. And it's easier to do that on a podcast. We can say, hey, there's going to be spoilers in this episode, so turn it off right now. And then people can know. And if they choose to go forward, they can't be mad at us because we said up front, there are spoilers.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I mean, we do the same thing with cutscenes and cupcakes, because there's, I mean, we try to stay current with the different games coming out, but like they take time to play, and especially like where we all are like doing full-time stuff, and it's hard to play a new video game in the same weekend it was released in its entirety, because I mean, as I'm sure you guys know in your own experience too, like it takes, some games are like hundreds of hours long, or
sometimes even over 1,000.
Yeah,
well, that's called having a problems on her.
But so we too, like at the top of our episodes, we're like, hey, there's gonna be spoilers.
Yeah.
And and especially like if it's a game that came out like recently and it was a big hitting, hard hitting game, we're like, hey, we're really gonna dive deep into this game. Continue at your own risk, essentially, like go play the game, come back and listen to us, So I
think with a podcast, it's a lot easier to do that. But when you're posting a meme or a picture online, even if you put spoilers in the description and then you post the picture, like it's there, and
people can see
it and see it. So I just don't be a jerk. That's the rule online, just in general, that I would share with anyone who's deciding to be online for the first time. Just don't be a jerk.
Well, and even like, you have to kind of understand also how Instagram, like I'm going to use Instagram as a specific example, and how it works when you're posting multiple photos. So for example, there's this one site I follow that does a lot of fun little comic, like related memes and stuff. And I actually really like their content. But so they'll have one image say, hey, there's going to be spoilers, swipe to the next one to see, keep swiping, But the thing is, when you're scrolling, you see that one first and you're like, okay, cool. I won't keep like looking at their photos, the different ones that they have there. But if you were to put your phone down and come back and look and come back to Instagram and keep scrolling, like, as we all do, it then moves to the next slide. And you're like, wait a second, like I did not want to see this. And so I think there's some people who just don't quite understand that that's how Instagram, especially Instagram, works. And it's really like, you really got to be careful when you're scrolling. And I know, again, like I know that there's things I can do to avoid that. I don't have to follow that account, but I'm still going to,
Well, it's hard because a big part of trying to build your online presence is having that interactivity and especially if you're trying to manage a brand with social media, you've got to go in and try to interact with other similar brands and posts and things like that to build your presence. And so, yeah, you're going to follow those accounts because you need to. That's part of building your brand and your presence online. And so you can't not follow. And so, yeah, I mean, to say, well, you shouldn't follow those accounts. Well, that's really hard when you're, like you said, trying to manage social media for different podcasts and things like that.
Well, and
so,
I am a fan, like, so once I do eventually see the episode, or, I'll go back and visit those, their pages and look at all of the applicable memes, and usually there's several by the time the next episode comes out, like that, that time period in between, like, I have some memes to catch up on, and then, and then it's good. But it's just those initial ones. It's usually just like those first 2 days. So I guess 48 hours might be an okay time, but
I think 48 hours to a week I think makes sense, but
who's gonna listen to us?
Well, hopefully lots of people listen to us.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But I don't know. I agree.
Our moms, hopefully, at least.
Oh, my mom doesn't know how to listen to podcasts. I was going to say,
my mom's always posting spoilers online.
Oh, I thought you meant just listen to the show.
I know she listens to movies that make us. I don't know that she listens to Stolendroids. So
no, I
have to remind my mom. I'm like, I'm on 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
Podcast? Is that like a radio show? Yes, Mom.
Yeah.
And I have to also remind my closest friends too. Like, other people in Stolendroids. I'm like, hey guys, I am part of another podcast.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you knew. Don't know if you listen to us. Or the best is when, and I don't feel bad saying this because I know they're not going to listen because they're lame, but but we'll be talking about some sort of topic or whatever, and I'll be like, hey, I actually discussed this quite in detail on 2 episodes ago on Stolendroids. You should go listen to it. And I make eye contact with them and come on, catch my drift here. And they still don't.
Yeah.
Do you guys have that ever?
Yes. And
I think every podcaster has that.
Yeah. My favorite is friends that I have that podcast that you talk to them and you can tell they've never listened to one of my shows, but then they'll mention their stuff. And when you're like, oh, I missed that episode or whatever, you didn't, and they're totally put out that you didn't listen to their episode. And it's, wait a second, you haven't ever listened to one of my episodes. But anyway,
hi.
So we're gonna wrap things up. Spoilers. This episode is ending right now. There's your spoiler, and you can follow us anywhere on social media. Let me throw those up here really quick. There we go. So you can see at Stolendroids anywhere. We promise to try to keep it spoiler free as much as we can. But in the meantime, go and just don't be a jerk. And we'll let people go in case anybody's got a litter of puppies ready to be delivered or something. So
I wonder who that could be.
I don't know.
Not me. Right. I have cats.
All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.
This has been a Stolendroids Media production.